Welcome to Legal Meets, a look at legal beyond the law, a podcast by Legaler. On this episode of Legal Meets, we meet Chrissie Lightfoot, a leading voice on the future of the legal industry. Her books, The Naked Lawyer and Tomorrow's Naked Lawyer, have helped legal professionals across the globe. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Legal Meets. I'm joined by none other than the entrepreneur lawyer and the naked lawyer, Chrissie Lightfoot. Welcome, Chrissie.
Hi there. Hi. Thanks, Stevie. It's a pleasure to be on.
It's lovely to have you on. It's early morning in Australia, but late evening in the UK. So thank you for making the time.
No, you're welcome. Likewise. It's always difficult. It's always either right at the start of the day or right at the end of the day when there's so many hours and distance between us. But I love Australia, so I'd prefer to be there right now than here, to be honest. But hey,
getting a little cold, huh?
It is. It'll be hotting up over there, no doubt.
That's right. I've just come from a swim at the beach, so good way to start the morning.
Stop it. Give over.
I won't rub it in too much. But thanks for joining us. And for someone that's become an authority, on personal branding, and especially in the legal world, you've done a mighty job of practicing what you preach, and you've become a really recognizable brand as the naked lawyer and the entrepreneur lawyer. How did that all come about, and where did the name come from?
A load of confusion, actually, if I'm honest. I actually share the concept of having a brand triage. So basically, I talk about having a personal brand, and then a product brand, and also a firm brand, an entity brand. So I actually came up with the entrepreneur lawyer as a personal brand a long time ago, because that came about through obviously what people recognize me as, being an entrepreneur and a lawyer. And then when I came up with the Naked Lawyer book, it was in order to actually have a title that would practice what the content preaches, which is all about helping lawyers and individuals in a digital economy actually stand out from the crowd, and how they go about doing that. And in relation to lawyers in particular, it's very much about, taking yourself bare and declothing, derobing, getting rid of that corporate cloak as such, and then reclothing yourself with a personal brand that it really tells the world who you actually are, right, and who your direct clients are.
And so why is that so important for lawyers particularly, especially moving into the digital age and moving their brand online, and trying to service clients in a new way and be found online? What's so important for the lawyers?
Well, for me, this is going back more a decade or so, and it's where I recognised that actually as we move into the digital age, I could see that there was going to be a big impact of cognitive computing, AI, robots coming in and taking over a lot of the tasks and roles that a lawyer does. So the only way that a lawyer would be able to differentiate themselves going forward would be those skill sets that the machine wouldn't do naturally or for many years to come. So the book, The Naked Lawyer, was originally out in 2010 because it preempted the second book, Tomorrow's Naked Lawyer, all about AI and robots, because lawyers obviously wouldn't be ready to accept the idea and concept of machines coming and taking some of their jobs and roles in 2010, even though it's talked about a lot now. So it really, for me, the important was to start helping educate lawyers in starting to transition with the skills that they're going to need actually currently now in 2016 and onwards, and prepare for the time when robots will actually be doing a lot of the knowledge work, right, the research, analysis, and what have you. So it was actually a book that was of its time. It was pioneering, but it's actually starting to come into its fore now in order to help lawyers with all of those emotional intelligence, creativity, negotiation, persuasion, rainmaking type of skills that basically the machine won't be doing right now, even in those law firms that are starting to actually bring them on board, and even lawyers themselves. But it's certainly where the lawyers will actually have to transit to when you look at the new roles of the lawyer in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years or so.
Right. Okay. So it seems like the Naked Lawyer was a primer, and then Tomorrow's Naked Lawyer was like, it's here, it's real. And it seems like there's something else coming now where you're always looking to the future, but you kind of got one eye on what's happening in front of you as well, and what the realities are for running your business. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important that we all prepare for the future, and it's all about prevention rather than cure. It's all about looking at what skill sets you're going to need, where do you need to move on that continuum. Even though everybody will actually go along that continuum at different stages, there's always the front runner lawyers who are well ahead. Like social media, grasping social media back in 2010, it was only the front runners that actually thought, I can see the value in this.
Right.
It took really 6 years or so, which is mainly what the first book was all about, was how lawyers can use digital or social media in order to actually reach out and relate to clients, existing clients and new clients, in order to generate new work and keep those relationships going.
Yeah, so just starting to immerse themselves in those digital tool sets and kind of
exactly.
get to grips with what's coming. So with sharing your own insights and you've got a unique perspective of being on both sides of the fence. You've gone from an entrepreneur lawyer, an entrepreneur to a lawyer, then back to an entrepreneur, I'd say.
Yes.
Not to mention that you did take up the robe later in life. You kind of put on the robe, took off the robe as the naked lawyer, but now you've gone and written a couple of books and become a real authority on the future of legal. Do you think your experience as an entrepreneur before your legal life kind of gave you a better insight and maybe even a unique perspective on how to approach it?
Yes, I mean, undoubtedly, without question, because my background is very much about being in business and innovating in business in different fields as well. So, I worked in consultancy and the leisure industry, and that kind of, and the internet as well. The onset of the internet back in 2000, and doing an online local geographic community site, and getting into use with even online digital, even back then, of SEO at the very start of it all, basically. And those kind of skill sets where you're exposed and thinking about how you can use a new technology in order to bring a new service as such, which is what I was doing 8 or 10 years ago in a different capacity somewhere else. Applying those kind of skills, I could see the opportunity in the legal profession, legal industry, because actually law firms, lawyers were not actually even looking there or even considering exploiting it. And I could see that the industries that I was in, which was particularly at that time, the leisure industry, and online media industry as such, I could see how the all that was good in those industries about customer service and utilizing technologies to make products and services more available and more efficient as well. I could see a way in which legal services could be put online, and this is more than 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So bringing all of that experience in those different industries, in the roles that I was doing as in an operations capacity or in HR, even sales and marketing, and even in my own businesses when I was employing people and employing lawyers, I was exposed to actually the way that lawyers served clients. And so I could actually see an opportunity in how that could be improved. And for me, I stepped into the law because I wanted to help bridge the gap between the legal world and the business world to actually bring those improvements on, and then as a lawyer serve the entrepreneurs in the new and improved and online way.
Well, I was going to ask you, what initially, what was the catalyst to actually go from entrepreneur, because it's usually the other way around. So what was the catalyst that actually drove you to become a lawyer and take that leap? Life's pretty good and business is going well, and to kind of go to university and whatever else.
I actually read a book by Charles Handy and some others when I was a teenager, who talked about a portfolio worker and having a portfolio of skills in order to be able to future-proof your own career, whatever you do in life, in the decades ahead, as we do move into a digital and a technological economy, and to the point where we do have AI and robots. So I was reading some very forward-thinking work that really influenced me as a teenager, actually. So the reason I stepped up and do what I do now was actually, I would say, a result of my upbringing and the exposure of who I was reading, what I was reading, by scientists and entrepreneurs, futurists, even at a young age, that actually put me on this path.
Okay, wow. And so I guess, you've got a good grasp of what's going on both within the legal industry and, as you mentioned, in the entrepreneurial world and technology world. So as that competition is increasing for the legal industry specifically, be it from technology or market forces, lawyers are under increasing pressure, obviously, to be more proactive, to get out there and sell themselves, and to kind of move away from waiting for the client to come to them. And in your book, you actually you talk about your system of raw and kind of using that raw experience and to go out and actually market yourself. What exactly is that concept, and how can it help lawyers?
Well, RAW is simply an acronym for reach out and relate. So it is all about that relationship marketing, relationship sales, relating online, using social context in order to actually attract clients and keep clients. But the actual RAW model is a 10-step approach, which I document in The Naked Lawyer, which is basically very practical. And it's kind of not so much a blueprint. It's my story. It's what I did as a trainee solicitor in how I went from zero to nothing and getting in 100 grand or more worth of business purely off the back of social media using the RAW model. And then as that model evolved, which I reviewed, revised, improved upon in tomorrow's Naked Lawyer, bringing all of the latest new work from other people and their ideas and concepts as well, sharing work from other great sales gurus like Andy Bounds and others that have improved on the subject itself. The RAW model has actually evolved to involve online technology as well. So the RAW model is actually an ongoing process, because I keep learning and I keep trying and adding to the model so that it becomes of more value and such really useful in the current time.
Yeah, and I think that seems to be the only way to do things, is to measure, test, or to test and then measure what the results are, and then obviously learn and then kind of keep that cycle going. So it seems like it's a startup in the true sense, right? Constantly evolving, and it's a almost live document.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant.
Yes, it's exactly that.
So I guess there's never been a better time, to be a legal futurist as you look at the exponential curves technologies taking, and how quick technologies can actually be distributed through the economy now and employed. There's no kind of, I guess, faster changing industry than legal. For a long time, it seemed like an echo chamber, but now because the law can be codified, you've got smart contracts, machine learning, all coming into one place, and this big wave's been kind of crashing down on the legal industry for a long time, and now it seems like it's finally taking place. In your opinion, is it kind of looking, I don't know, is the future bright for lawyers, or is the end kind of nigh? What's happening in your humble opinion?
Wearing my lawyer hat, I'd have to say yes or no. Okay, yeah. But let me qualify that. I would think that for entrepreneur lawyers, it's a fantastic time. It's ripe with opportunity, because there is so much prospect of actually doing new things because of the technology that's available now. It's all about a lawyer having the imagination of what business case and how to exploit what this technology can actually do, and like I say, having the imagination of what it can do. But that first requires a real understanding of these different technologies, and that in itself is a bit of a difficulty. So a lot of lawyers may think that, oh my God, the end is nigh because the robot's going to come in and do my job and all the rest of it. Well, the reality is that yes, in some format, some of the jobs and tasks and roles that lawyers actually do now do not need to be done by human beings. They're quite capable of being done by some form of technology, whether it's a cognitive computing element, doing a lot of research and analysis, or a particular AI, a bot or an app that can answer basic questions and then lead on to more complex things and guide to a human lawyer or an expert. Or even to the other extreme, where we do have machine learning now, which is improving, and then going into further types of machine learning as well. So I see it as a really exciting time, and there's a lot of new legal technology coming on board, legal technology startups, you should say, that are bringing new ideas. There's LawBot in Cambridge by 4 students. That's just one example, where basically they've got 26 criminal law areas now that they cover, that help the general layperson basically get some basic rudimental advice if they've suffered some form of harm. There's LawDroid in America that does a basic how to actually form your company online in California. There's other examples. Obviously, Do Not Pay is probably the most prolific one out there, helping people with traffic tickets and what have you. So and on that point as well, with the AI that's available from certain technologies, you've got the cognitive computing that everybody talks about. Obviously Andrew Arruda's Ross, which is out in the media lots, and people are using that. Big companies, big law firms that are embracing them in a large capacity. With the IBM Watson technology, there's the Raven technology, the Kira technology as well, Luminance now. But there's Neota logic, there's a slightly different thing, which is more about the reasoning and judgment element, whereas the others tend to focus on the commoditization, reasoning, analytics, hypothesizing, what have you. So I see it as a wonderful, fantastic opportunity for lawyers and law firms to look at these different aspects of what these different technologies can do. But it really comes down to them having the vision, the will, and the I have to be careful how I word this, I suppose, but having not just the wherewithal, but having the audacity to go out and do something that would actually affect their existing business model, but then to look, how do we get a return on investment and where's the value, and even dare to go into an area that's never been tapped before. Well,
that's the tricky part, isn't it? So when you're, I guess, not wrapped in cotton wool, but when times are actually good and business is actually okay, it's hard to see a real impetus to change, right? And that's kind of where the partners of the bigger firms are kind of, nearing the end of their career. They're not so incentivized to kind of, adopt new systems, change the way they've been doing things, or change a successful business. So it's very hard to kind of make that leap. And I think that's the word audacity. You got to kind of, grab the bull by the horns at some stage and take a risk.
It is, but you can understand from the law firm's point of view and those kind of lawyers at that stage in life, why change something that's been working, continues to work, and it's not always easy to comprehend that change might happen so quickly and so rapidly. I think what is surprising a lot of lawyers and law firms right now is the rate of the technological advancement and change, and the rate of adoption, and some of the deployment even in the legal ecosystem that we thought might take 5, 10, 20 years. I mean, the Giamatti report was talking about AI and cognitive computing having a real impact by 2030, and Richard Susskind himself was saying 2020. Yeah. Carl, CEO of Kim Technologies, Review Law, saying by 2020. But I've always felt personally, and when people have asked me even last year, I said, no, within 2 years, I think we'll start to see a real movement. Because the stuff that Ray Kurzweil talks about, Gerd Leonard, Rohit Talwar, all about the exponential growth of technology and the exponential curve, I can see how that would actually be, embraced and deployed in legal, where if it's not the law firms themselves or the lawyers, certainly here in the UK with LSA 2006, the new companies, the entrepreneurs, people from outside law who can actually see the opportunity are allowed to actually make their way in now. And it's those kind of companies and people, students and entrepreneurs, who are actually starting to just cause a little bit of disruption, but in a really positive way, which hopefully I might get the opportunity to talk about in a little while. Yeah, sure. So for me, I see it as a huge opportunity, but I can understand the fear and the relentless march of the machines that may actually cause a lot of concern for existing lawyers, and certainly the new recruits coming through. So thinking, well, how can we actually get up to a level of lawyering, or what kind of lawyering we're going to be doing, what skills we're going to need as well. But there is lots of support there. I mean, the universities and the law schools are looking at this now. I mean, University of Westminster is putting in an AI and robots module as such to try and educate their students to be aware of what's possible and what's happening, and the kind of lawyer that they may be expected to be, where they've got to have these different skill sets which move beyond the traditional skills. It will be very much about having an understanding about technology, possibly even coding, certainly all about the making skills and the emotional intelligence. BPP, University of Law, put something on their syllable about the commercial savvy side of it anyway. So I think they're putting protection mechanisms in place so that even if the students of law do not choose to become actual lawyers, they may actually choose to become technicians of law, yeah, or might go off and do business or write apps or create bots. Yeah. But if they've got the knowledge, that it's them who will actually go out into society and the economy and come up with new ways of actually delivering really sharp legal services and legal products to all kinds of businesses and consumers.
Yeah, well, it seems like there's this moving goalpost. Actually, just even this morning on my walk, I was listening to, there's a brilliant podcast in the US, the Kennedy Mile Report with Dennis Kennedy and Tom Mile. And he was saying one of his first classes that he took in university, don't want to kind of date Dennis Kennedy, but it was a while ago, maybe 30 years ago, where he had this course, and it was basically about AI back then, and how it was going to replace lawyers, and there are these incremental things that take place that are kind of wow at the time, but then it's kind of like the boiling frog. You get used to it. It doesn't seem that kind of magical, but there's all this kind of AI around us, whether it's, from Siri or whatever else. So it seems like the goalpost keeps moving, and I think all the other platforms around what AI is itself have to evolve as well. And that seems like that's happening now, where you can have a bot in Messenger, you can have an app within an app, and so it seems like now that all the surrounding environment for legal technologies is ripe to actually bring AI, and then it's like, is it AI or is it is AI standing for artificial intelligence or is it assisted intelligence? Because it seems like this augmented lawyer is what you're saying is going to evolve and become that lawyer, tomorrow's naked lawyer. It's going to become like an augmented real.
Tomorrow's robot lawyer, even.
Yeah, exactly. So what technologies should tomorrow's naked robot lawyer be looking out for? What should they be doing?
It's a really difficult question, that, because it's what people understand of what is AI, and we could spend a whole podcast on that. But I like to keep things really simple, and I tend to start and say, people just think of AI as mimicking a human. Okay, so the sort of AI that we have now, or certainly in law, is basically where lawyers, law firms, or entrepreneurs or students who are coming at it are trying to create intelligent machines of sorts that will work and react like a human being normally does. So replacing kind of replicating what the human lawyer has actually done in a way. So for me, where people should be looking is certainly understanding the cognitive computing that is available right now. Certainly different forms of AI, the machine learning, obviously like Google, machine learning per se, but Google's DeepMind, AlphaGo kind of technology as well, which is a next step on, which is all about intuition, which is quite different. And then even, a lot of people might not have heard about symbolic AI. And this is something that's under study and moving swiftly forward towards AGI kind of stuff that's being experimented in Imperial College of London with a professor friend of mine. And I don't even understand that. I don't profess to be an expert on all these different kind of AI technologies. For me, I think what's important for lawyers and lay people, entrepreneurs, think about is it's not really so much about what is technology and what's under the bonnet. Yes, you have an understanding, but it's really about the purpose. Why would you use this kind of technology?
What are you going to do with it and why?
So, exactly. And I think a lot of people miss that, and they get really hung up on, well, is this document automation? Is it e-discovery? Is it advanced document automation? Is it smart contracting? Is it, and even how blockchain is working now? Yeah. For me, I think a lot of lawyers, you shouldn't really care. You should be thinking about, if you understand what all of this stuff can do, get your head around what would be the business case in order to bring a solution to a problem or an area that has been actually untapped as of now. And I think that's where the real opportunity is, and that's where the lawyers should really be thinking about. Can they actually bring a new service, or a reinvigorated, or reinvent something, or make something completely new where they could actually serve some new clients, or actually give more to some existing clients?
And that's kind of, I guess, it should sit under the umbrella of the delivery of legal services, because ultimately, whether it's technology, everything's aiming to make our lives better. Whether it's access to justice, whether it's actually, delivering a better service, it seems that, it should all fall under that umbrella. And it's like, if AI has been around for so long, it's like, what are you going to do to actually give a client a better service? What are you going to do to be a more efficient lawyer and actually live a better life for yourself as a lawyer as well? Okay, Chrissie, so you've had this thread of innovation and forward-thinking, pioneering running through most of your endeavors. You refer to it as being light of foot and being nimble. What are you working on next? And how's it going to impact the future of law?
Well, it's great that you've asked me that, actually, because coincidentally we've just launched. I say I've gone into a new venture as a co-founder and with a handful of investors. Actually, there's 4 of us at the moment, possibly 5. So we've got some significant backing in order to bring Lisa, the robot lawyer. Lisa is an AI lawyer. Basically, Lisa stands for Legal Intelligence Support Assistant. And Lisa is a robot, basically, where we've done a flagship NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, often known as a confidentiality agreement. And the way that we've built Lisa is we've used the Neota no-code AI platform as a base. Adam Duthie of Duthie Law Firm is my partner, and he has done the brain dump, basically 30 years of knowledge and experience and intelligence of corporate law. And we've put together this online AI app, basically, which is Lisa as the system. And what it means is that consumers and business people can go on and use Lisa, with Lisa's support, use the AI app and actually create their very own NDA. So they're drafting their own NDA. The base of the NDA is obviously Adam's intelligence. And as they work through the questions and give specific answers, the NDA is actually getting built with the AI platform, basically. And that's just an easy way of trying to explain what we've done. And what is really unique and special about this, and is the first to market, I believe, because we wanted to bring something to market that's very different to what lawyers do, human lawyers, and how human lawyers operate. And obviously, human lawyers are not able to act for both parties on the same subject matter, whereas Lisa is an AI app, it's a product. And what we've done is created the app so that the initiator of the app comes on, works through and actually drafts and builds the NDA with Lisa's support and help. So there's pop-ups of education and guidance about the law and nuances and the commercial middle ground, and explaining what it means one side and then the other. And then once that is built, the initiator actually sends it to the person that they want to keep the information confidential. That receiver can then obviously take a look at the NDA, which is sent to them as a PDF. And also, if they're not happy, they can go into the app themselves and change some of the terms and the clauses. For example, they might want the duration of the confidentiality agreement to last for 3 years instead of 6 months, or they might want to put a non-compete in there, non-compete clause or not. And when they're happy and they've done it, they send it back to the initiator with a final Word document that they can download and then manipulate if they then want to go to further discussions and agreement. At this point, it obviously means that Lisa is actually trying to play the middle ground so that the two parties can actually get the basic legal document done for themselves. So it shouldn't involve a human lawyer. But what we do is actively prompt and say at this point, if you do wish to have support from a human lawyer because you can't agree or you're struggling or whatever, obviously contact the guy who's developed the app, or the lady. In this instance, it's Adam Duthie as the initial point of contact for initiator. But then on the other side, as the receiver, we encourage them to go and see and use their local solicitor in order to get guidance and help on and pure human lawyer advice on their side as well.
Wow,
so Lisa basically, Lisa basically takes that basic initial interview side of stuff that a lawyer would normally do, but also where both parties want to get to without even using a human lawyer. Because what I've found in my research by clients and research being done by Peppermint Technology and LexisNexis and others is a lot of consumers and certainly business people nowadays, they want to do a lot of work for themselves if they can. They're into self-help. I mean, lots of the millennials are actually, they're savvy with robot advisor insurance people. So why wouldn't they make the connection with law? And we're really interested to see. We've only been running a week now, and with very limited exposure, just a bit on social media and a couple of pieces in the press that obviously they got straight onto. But we're seeing a whole range of people using this, which surprised me, I'll be honest, because we've launched it with the idea and understanding that we want to reach some of those excluded business people. But it's tending to be people who have used NDAs in the past as well, such as savvy entrepreneurs or even blue chip companies. I can't disclose who they are because obviously I can see the email addresses of who's using it. But we're seeing a whole range of, say, GCs, blue chip corporates, white collar workers, entrepreneurs, students, academics, and lawyers as well, curiously enough, because I think they are curious as to see what this is.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've had a lot of lawyers saying we would actually use this kind of technology. It's really fantastic what you've got as a main document, as an outcome, and we could actually use this for our clients. So it's an interesting stage. Although we're very, very early doors, I've got real great hopes for this reaching and doing what we've set out to achieve in the whole mission, which is really about reaching that latent legal buyer market to help both the users and the lawyers.
Well, it's interesting because it's a very exciting development, and I think you're maybe approaching it, as you said, from a very unique perspective that no one has before. Because it sounds like it's the augmented lawyer. You got Adam's brain being scaled, and then basically, you're able to kind of help both sides. Because the misconception seems to be that lawyers are really tied to that kind of work, but essentially they want to use technologies in their own business to actually get rid of the manual work. And they're like, well, the same NDA that I've done so many times, I don't really have to start from scratch every time. So it's also tackling that access to justice. So who are those people that it's reaching? What's that demographic? Is it? Do you see it as something that's opening up the latent market and helping access to justice and lawyers at the same time?
Yes, it's definitely doing that. It's doing that right now, and we're just hopeful that it's actually going to obviously expand. What I am pleased about as well is that it's this original NDA piece was built so that it is multi-jurisdictional. And it is being used by people all over the world. It's not just the UK, because obviously we've written the NDA, so it's UK law, UK jurisdiction, but the actual users of the app and what they want to use the NDA for, they may actually be wanting to have multiple parties in multiple jurisdictions. So we're seeing that people are using it from America or Canada or parts of Europe or Australia or New Zealand or whatever. And that's really interesting, I find, because that's what we set out to do. And it means obviously access to justice that's helping those people in those jurisdictions that suffer the same kind of problems that we have in the UK, where there's lots of users that haven't been able to afford basic documents as well. And we certainly see it as, if you can get these young businesses off the ground, there's a good chance that just getting on the ladder, it's helping them be successful at that early stage when they can't afford basic legal fees. And obviously, if they are successful in getting to the next stage, and they do get to that point, it means that they are going to obviously be contributing to society through corporation tax, NI, bringing in employees, and what have you. So I can see where this could actually go and help local, regional, national economies throughout the world. So it's really exciting at this stage.
Yeah, no, as you say, we've spoken about this in the podcast also, and it's kind of the sentiments echoed throughout the legal industry. But this access to justice problem is really what everyone's tackling, because these basic needs, as you're saying, a business needs to kind of protect themselves to actually march forward and be effective.
Exactly.
They should be, again, basic needs, not exclusive kind of rights. So it's actually very exciting. And I think you've moved the goalposts once more, so it's very exciting.
Well, for me, it's I've always kind of sat on the fence where I want to help both the entrepreneurs, the users, and the lawyers, because I can see it wearing both hats. I am both. I've been a lawyer. I still feel a lawyer at heart, and it's like everything else. Lawyers do deserve to rightly do the high-end, complex work and charge well for that, because lay people and business people expect to pay well for really top-end intellectual capital and experience and advice. But what they do not want to do is pay any more for any basic stuff, and certainly stuff that they're aware that technology can do instead. So understandably, the law firms and lawyers are starting to get asked now anyway, are you not using some form of cognitive computing AI that could take away this? Because we're where it's available. So if you're not going to do it, we're going to go somewhere that is, and we'll only come to you for the high-end stuff as and when we need it.
So do you think that'll become a basic prerequisite for even clients searching for legal services, that they'll, and you're talking about whether it's GCs, large corporations, they'll probably tend to lean towards lawyers that they know are immersed in technology, using this AI as in assisted kind of intelligence and AI through platforms and document automation, all these things that make that I guess they want to know that, hey, I'm getting an efficient service, but the most intelligent kind of and business acumen assisted kind of advice.
Well, absolutely. I mean, consumers and business people, they're not daft. We're savvy. We're savvy buyers. We're aware now of what's out there. We use AI, Siri, Cortana, etc. in our everyday devices, in our leisure lives, family lives. So we expect that in our business lives as well. So when we're getting a legal service or an insurance service, accountant service or whatever, when there's actually AI or technology out there in different sectors, they will expect it in the legal sector as well, and nothing short of some kind of top-end technological service, even at a basic level. And what I do think that we might see in a very short period of time is it moving swiftly from a basic level to a more complex.
That's very, very exciting. So is there an actual launch date that you've got in mind for, I guess, more of a public, opening?
it'll be next year, because like all new technologies, we're looking for feedback. We're open to the evolution of Lisa as well, and to improve upon Lisa. We do have a phase 2 and a phase 3 for Lisa. We are looking at different areas of law, obviously.
Okay.
We've launched with an NDA, which is mainly commercial, but obviously it helps consumers because it's for individuals as well who've just come up with ideas or want to talk to somebody in confidence about getting a project off the ground. So it kind of goes across both there. So as an official launch, we're probably not going to look at that until next year, because we don't want to run too fast, because
so
we really want to bring people with us.
Yeah, of course. Is there somewhere people can actually try it now, or is that something that they should just get in touch with you personally? And what's the best way to kind of do that?
The best way to actually is just there's a link that is aitechsupport.co.uk.
Okay.
And that is the holding website, but you can actually access Lisa and the NDA from that particular site right now.
Okay, great. It'll be interesting to see how that all evolves, and very exciting. So we've got a few parting shots on the LegalMeets podcast that I'll quickly shoot your way. First one is, are you an iOS, Android, or a Windows girl?
All of them. I believe in the and, not the or.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah.
Bring it all in.
Yeah, you got to immerse yourself, I guess. Each platform offers something different.
Absolutely, yeah.
So apart from your actual phone, what other piece of technology, maybe it's Lisa, but what other piece of technology can you not live without?
Oh, dear. I better keep this clean, hadn't I?
The naked lawyer strikes again.
Exactly, yes, and my notoriety. Something did immediately pop to mind, but I can't say it. The obvious is my apps on my iPhone, my travel app, actually. All of it. I know it sounds really basic and silly, but the train line, I do so much traveling that this app, the fact that it's available, I can't live without it. No.
Perfect.
Tracking the train times, the cancellations, and everything.
No, it seems like you live a very busy lifestyle. So, and so just in line with that, and I know you have, again, a lot of travel commitments, and you're kind of, you got a foot in lots of different projects. What's the one daily ritual that kind of keeps you sane, that you kind of refer to, or gets your day started? Is there a particular one?
A huge cup of coffee.
I think that works. That's a fantasy for most people.
That's it. As soon as I get up, unfortunately, it's kettle on, first big mug of the day.
Just to keep the monster at bay, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's really bad. I know I should say something healthy and get up and go for a run and whatever.
No, well, there's a lot
it isn't. I'm sorry.
There's more and more science coming out about coffee and antioxidants, and
yeah.
I myself kind of live off a morning coffee and fast most of the day.
Yeah.
So it definitely works.
It does. It's get up, coffee, full blast for 8-10 hours, and then sit back, breathe, eat. And if I'm lucky, I can get to the gym. And in the summer weekend, it's out for a bike ride to have a blast, because I do a lot of great thinking. So a weekend ritual used to be, and I hope it continues to be, get out on the bike first thing on a Saturday to have a blast for 4 or 5 hours.
It's really clears your head.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a weekly ritual, not a daily one.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of exciting things happening, Chrissie. It's been great to have you on LegalMeets, and I'm really looking forward to keeping track of Lisa. The family's growing. We've got Ross, we've got Lisa. It's kind of, all these little cool projects.
Yeah, there's even there's an Eli in Brazil as well. Enhanced Legal Intelligence, Brazilian client and contact of mine. So I think we're going to see a whole community of these robot lawyers, whether they're bots or apps, really coming to the fore in the next few months, actually.
It's a very exciting time for legal tech, and we hope to keep tabs and maybe have you back on to give us a demo of the platform when it's up and running next year. Wishing you
I'd love to, and thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you as well, Steve, and I wish you all the best with legal.
We've got to let you get to bed now, so you've got a big day tomorrow and get to that coffee.
Absolutely.
So have a great evening, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.